Welcome to Life's a Coach. Our mission is to empower individuals like you to take charge of your life, discover your purpose, and elevate your performance to new heights. Each week, we'll be diving into engaging discussions, introducing you to valuable tools from the coaching world, and giving you different perspectives on individual development. Whether you're seeking clarity, motivation, or a fresh perspective, we've got you covered. Again, welcome to Life's a Coach, where the power to transform your life begins now.
Welcome to Life's a Coach, guys. My name is Eric Claremont. Today, we're going to be discussing building confidence, stepping into your power. And today, we have life coaches Jean, Sophia, and Avril. I'm going to pop things off, guys, by putting you on the spot and asking you, what is an area in your life that if you have previously lacked in confidence and that you've spent time building and now feel that you have? And there's a second part to that question. How did you build that confidence in the area? I'm going to go with Avril.
As you usually do.
I'll be a gentleman.
I can think of a few areas. However, one that comes to mind actually is, funny enough, public speaking. Right. I developed an interest in stand-up comedy at one point in my life, and I went for it. And I must say, initially, just being on stage and speaking to a large crowd of people is something that I lacked confidence in. Right, I was good doing jokes with friends and stuff like that, but going on a stage and then talking to people, that was a whole different ballgame. So that's one area I can mention.
Great. Anybody else have anything that comes to mind that, again, when you first did it, you felt, oh my goodness, I'm never going to be good at this. But then obviously, over time, you were able to develop that.
I became a single parent to 6 kids, maybe about 10 years ago. And I used to be at home full time. So though I was super ambitious and felt very competent, I was quite new to actually working full time and supporting a family. How did I overcome my, fears, insecurities, anxieties? I literally just had to choose it. I mean, it sounds so simple, but I had to wake up every morning. Maybe not everybody gets in a situation where it was like dire, like I must get myself up, dressed, and out the door to make money for my family's survival. But it sure helped. So, of course, the first place I go as a full-time career is to the gym because I just knew what are 2 things that I do every day or that I did every day before, I was financially on my own was I worked out and I wrote. So that's kind of how I chose a career to step into. So you could imagine, again, that's the second part, going into the gym, being a newly minted fitness trainer, and a lot of confidence was built just by showing up and doing it.
Yes, definitely. Loved what you said, Jean. It made me think that most of the times to build confidence, it's by repetition of some of the things. When things are new, we are never comfortable, I would say. Just at this moment, I'm starting a new function. And although it's about everything that I love, so mentoring, coaching, learning, and development, every day I feel like, oh, this is not my place. But it's just because it's new, right? And when both of you were sharing, just Avril and Jean, I thought about that sentence that says, fake it till you make it. But I build on that. I think it's do it till you become it. And this, it's much different because the fake part, it's something strange. It's just like, this is not ours, so we will fake it. And if we do something I think that we are integrating the part of becoming something.
Absolutely. It reminds me of the quote, just, everything is hard before it's easy, right? Just as we walk, learn to walk, right? Imagining taking our first steps, how difficult that is for us to even just keep our balance, to, you know, maybe, less than, within the space of a month, 2 months, we're trying to climb different things, right? I think that's a great, example, right? Of how babies, right? We almost need to be like babies and not worried about failing, about how many times you fall on your butt, right? And obviously getting back into it and actually just trying
No.
again,
What?
right? And as you said,
I think
faking
we
till you make
missed
it.
Eric there. What was the quote it says? He said, everything is what? Did anyone catch that?
I think he said everything. Oh,
Everything is
there he
hard before
goes.
it's easy.
He's back.
Sorry, I'm back.
Yeah,
Everything.
gotcha.
Yeah.
He said,
Everything
everything
is
is
hard
what?
before
Sorry,
it's
Eric?
easy. You got me? Everything is hard before it's easy.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. So what was your thing you had to overcome, Eric?
Good question. I would say, getting into coaching, because I was in a different type of coaching before. So I had to learn a lot of my kind of bad habits, I would imagine. I was in sports coaching, which is very, even though it has coaching in the title, it's a very different, type of coaching, right? So, I would say that it's almost more difficult to unlearn all of your bad habits, from sports coaching to now relearning, things like active listening, right? You'd imagine that within sports coaching that you need to be a good active listener, and you probably do, but, there are other important aspects that have come to the forefront. So, I think learning the right way to listen actively, things like mirroring back to people what they're saying, the ability to hold space, which obviously, as you probably know, I'm still working on. And yeah, just generally, the process of becoming a coach. And I think that comes with wisdom and also understanding of people, right? So yeah, I would say that that's a journey that I'm definitely, I'm kind of, I'm on that journey, rather than anywhere near done. So no, that's interesting. But I definitely think, the confidence competence loop comes up here for me, where confidence, obviously building confidence, usually comes with you improving in an area. And as you improve in the area, you also build confidence. So it's kind of like a reciprocal cycle that kind of builds on itself, really, right? But it's interesting, super interesting.
Yeah, for me, going back to how I got more confident in it, it's similar to what everyone's saying. You just continue showing up, right? You keep on showing up. For me, in when you're doing something like stand-up comedy, you have to do these open mics, right? And the more open mics you do, the more time you go to those open mics, which are not necessarily the main gigs that you do, all of this, but it's just for practice. So the more open mics you go to different crowds, different locations, if you can, different parts of the city, to make sure that, your jokes are as funny for different diversity, demographic kind of thing. But ultimately, it was one of those things. I remember I read in a book about stand-up comedy. It says, if you can do 50 sets a month or 50 sets every 2 months, what have you, it's just the practice of just getting there. Before you know it, it's like, oh, you're not even so self-conscious anymore. But it's just, the more you do it, the better it gets. But I think for most people, just with the topic you're talking about, confidence, I think it's the getting started part of it. Getting over the nerves and getting over whatever mental barriers we've already put on the thing before we even started is Yeah, that's what I think. Mm-hmm.
What about for people who are not exactly at the beginning and they are, let's say, mid, okay? Maybe
Mm-hmm.
even just past beginning, and they may not have an opportunity like you did, Avril. Like you went to open mic to do a comic act, and then you got this affirmation and very direct from the audience. But a lot of us may not. So we attempt something, we keep going, we show up, we know that we want to do it. But what is the percentage that you need of crowd or other people's recognition that you're in the right place? Like your confidence is built based on reaction and based on other people. Because let's not pretend that, we're not going to totally do something even if we think that we're growing our competence. But our confidence is not going to be built alone, right? We can't keep doing something that we're really maybe not good at. So what do you guys think is sort of the ratio of how much do you depend on yourself to grow your competence, to get more confident, and how much is it dependent on others' inputs?
Love the
Juicy.
question. Yeah. I would say that there's not a one size fits all ratio, probably, June, right? Because I think it depends on the person in question as well as their environment. I would say that their environment is really linked to their ability to be able to improve over time. I would say that, the ability to have what I would call deliberate practice. So that is the ability to be able to practice, as Avery was using the example of stand-up comedy, right? He had that direct feedback from the audience, but also probably the promoters and whoever, how much money they brought in and how much feedback they got from the audience as to this guy's funny or this guy is likable, etc., etc. So I would say feedback, but also the ability to have like mentorship, right? Mentorship and coaching to 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 kind of advise on areas of strength that you need to keep harnessing. That's one thing of coaching that I feel is not probably harnessed enough. We're worried too much about our weaknesses rather than making our strengths super strengths. So things that come naturally to us. Usually our strengths are the things that we really enjoy, right? So like digging into those strengths, but also developing in areas of improvement, as you're mentioning, and then creating an action plan for improvement. So as you said, look, for me as a coach, perhaps, I realized, and you can also watch direct feedback. So as a coach, I might rewatch back my coaching sessions with my clients. I may have you as a mentor or friend look back at also my coaching, but within that, I may identify, what I was talking for 50% of the time, and the client was talking 50% of the time. I feel as if this area can improve, by me only talking 30% of the time and then talking 70%. So here's my action plan to be able to improve. So again, I don't know if I answered your question correctly, but basically the ratio, I think, depends. But I think what the important part is that feedback loop and action plan and coaching that is super important to develop in anything over time.
Yeah.
Thoughts, anyone?
Yeah. Feedback for sure. And the environment part you said, Eric, I also think it's very important because it depends on who are you surrounding yourself with and where do you want to go to. Because imagining in a real situation, if you're surrounded by people who don't appreciate stand-up or who don't know the benefits of it or who don't go a lot into it, maybe you're getting some feedback that it's not helpful for you. So I would say that it's also important to maybe your environment, your best friends can be your best friends for a lot of things in your personal life, considering a career, considering a situation that you want to go and jump into a different world from them. Maybe they are not the best people to build upon your confidence. So the example that you are giving, Eric, and on ourselves as coaches, this group, right? Just sharing with people that we know that want to build or want to reach or are already on that stage that we also want to be in. And adding to this, and I think that, or Eric or Jean mentioned, no, it was Avril that mentioned in his example, the learning part. Go for the best, search for the best in that specific field.
Yeah.
Jean mentioned your situation about becoming again on the work environment, right? What would you do? And you get to fitness. So go search for the best on the fitness area. Who is doing like the top of the tops? I think that's the best learning that we have. And maybe we will not be exactly like them, but maybe we don't want to be exactly like them, but we are learning from the best. I would say that this helps a lot on building confidence. Of course, there's the mindset also part of it. So having a growth mindset, I think it's very important because the difference on being on confidence on a line and going up or going down, it's just like, it's, I don't know how to say it in English, sorry, but it's like just a little leap of faith that can build you up or can knock you down.
Awesome. It's beautifully said. Beautifully said. I totally agree with everything you're saying. You know, and you know, Jean talking about the ratio, and Sophia talking about the people that we surround ourselves with. Totally, that's what I ended up doing, and what most comics do actually is we move in little groups or packs, right? You typically have a team of you, find like-minded people, like we travel as comics. Oh, this week, guys, are we hitting that open mic spot this week? So you sort of like surround yourself with other comics that are also beginning and trying to do what you want to do, like-minded. And the thing is, sometimes talking about feedback, sometimes it's really, yes, you can go into an open mic spot, or you can actually do a gig, a show, and the crowd may not like you, or the crowd may like you. You may, you know, not do so well that night. But the feedback, typically, yes, one would want to get it from the crowd, but it's also the one that I take more serious is what's coming from my fellow comedians that I've been traveling with, that know me, that know my style, that know what I'm trying to do, and that also know the ups and downs of the game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So those are the guys who, like, when you might think, oh, today I bumped, and they're like, actually, yeah, it feels that way, but you actually, from last week, you've actually improved your confidence. Your posture, that joke, the way you did it was this, you know. Or sometimes you may go thinking, okay, yeah, this one did it, people laughed, but then you get someone who just, you know what, in another place, this is not going to work. So it's just, again, going back to the people you surround yourselves with, right? And I noticed that with the group of comics that I was working with, or the team that I had, is that we all had certain idols who we also idolized in the stand-up comedy world, who were doing it. So you also, going back to what Jean and Sophia was saying, is about you see who's the best or who's killing it, then you study them and try work towards that. If it's someone with something that you want yourself, like if he's the style that you want, kind of thing. So I would say, yeah, the ratio is, I wouldn't know what it's like, 50-50, whatever, but there isn't a huge element of, you know, confidence coming from inside, on building yourself from inside, but also getting the feedback from outside, and getting that validation too. Sometimes we need the validation from the outside, you know. And I love what you said, Sophia, about how, you know, our best friends sometimes may not be the best people to go to with certain life changes, or things that we're trying to build confidence in, because, or even family members, and it comes out of love. They're coming out of love, but sometimes they can easily project their fears on you. You want to start a new business. No one in your family has started a business before, you know. So they may not be the best people to give you advice, you know, because they're also speaking from fears and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I just want to say I totally agree with that as well.
I agree with that. Sure.
Yeah, I bring in another side, left field. So as we're talking about confidence, I'm wondering, what does confidence look like? And I'm going to present 4 different scenarios, not to pit against each other, but just out of interest. I'd like to know what it looks like from a masculine and feminine differences or similarities. But I also like to pose different stages of life because right now I'm thinking about the knighthood stage, right? Sort of the young 20s, 30s, especially in the men. Confidence may present very differently than maybe a male in his midlife, past career, right? So if we look at masculine and feminine, and also look at stages of life within masculine and feminine. Please and thank you.
Wow.
Ooh.
Drop the bomb there. Jean went into the rabbit hole. She's just first day in. She's like, "Hey guys, you coming to play? You coming to play?" Oh man, I'm down. I'm down, Jean. I'm down. I love these. I love these. I love it. I love it.
And always
That's
trust
the
Jean to bring a masculine and feminine
So it's
into the
not.
No, that's
topic.
what I mean. Yeah.
It's because I feel them both so like, my feminine, my masculine. I need to like attend to both twins.
Beautiful. Well, Eric, since you threw me under the bus earlier on, the stage is yours.
Appreciate it. Thanks for the for the layup. I'll go back to something Sophia said earlier about faking it till you make it. I think at that knighthood stage early on, I feel that I would say that men and women probably are very much, and I'll bring it back to terms that I like to use, the ego versus authentic self, right? The ego self is very much at the fore.
Yeah.
Again, not talking about everyone here, but most of the time, at this stage of your life, you're more focused on the outward appearance of things, about kind of how you present to others, right? So it's very kind of external looking. So usually your validation is going to come from external sources. So from pleasing the other sex, pleasing, your peer group, right? All of these areas, I know, speaking from experience, that those things in my 20s were the things that I was seeking, right? Seeking validation from probably the wrong areas, right? Whereas as I've kind of gone on this journey, real confidence, and I was going to bring this up later, and it's probably, one that we can continue to develop into, is the courage. So basically for me, confidence is a feeling of kind of a feeling of competence in a specific area, right? Whereas courage is the ability to, regardless of how you feel, to act, and to feel competent in a certain area, let's say, right? So for me, I feel that definitely as you, and I don't think this specifically comes of age. I think it comes with experience, right? I think you realize in that knighthood stage, you try to act with the ego and you think, oh, my life's great. Usually either a relationship, friend group, or work situation kind of goes horribly wrong, forces you to recalibrate and realize, am I using the right compass to kind of to manage, or to look at my behavior? Is this how I want to live my life? And then we either continue along that path, right? If we feel as if that's the right way, or we really look internally and decide, you know what, this is not for me. I need to look more internally. So at least I would say, but super interesting question there, because I, really had to think internally about myself there. So I love that. I'm interested to hear everybody else's thoughts.
Jean, do you mind just repeating that again, the question again?
Yep. Just wondering, what does confidence look like from a feminine perspective and a masculine perspective? And to center in a little bit more within that wide field, what does it look like from a male, a masculine energy, I'll say, who is in the knighthood stage, and I'll just specify 20s to 30s, right? Versus a mature midlife or past career stage.
I would want to attempt to answer the second part of your question. I feel like I've got more resonance with that. The way I see it is like, it's like someone who's in their 20s in the knighthood stage, right? And you're dating, and someone who's in their 40s or 50s who's had a divorce or something like that and is getting back into dating, right? That's how I kind of see that question. In that, like Eric said, in your 20s, that now it's like, oh, the confidence is there, but you haven't had enough knocks in life that can take that confidence away. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So even if you're, you would have to start again building confidence. And let's say someone in their 20s as well. And I get it, we all come from different backgrounds and different trauma stuff that happen in life. So it's not a standard per se. But just to sort of like generalize a bit, it's like, it's easier if I can use a bit of more like a physical, a biological physical metaphor. It's easy for your bones to repair when you're young than for when you're old for your bones to if you break your bone. So that's the best way I can say it in regards to the confidence between the knight in their 20s and the person in their 40s. So building the confidence is going to be a little bit more challenging, and you're going to require more tools or more support to build that confidence in the later years than in the younger years. That's kind of how I.
And yet, if I go along with your analogy, I know as a physician, specifically with the bones, once you break a bone and it heals, it's actually stronger than it was originally. So take it what you want for the person who's gone through suffering or from traumas, and then gets put down and then emerges. And then we'll see how their confidence is rebuilt. Though I understand you're saying that it's harder. I hear you. Yeah. At an older stage.
Can I take on to what you just say? Because it just
go for it.
Added on to that is that another flip side of it as well is that the comeback as well. So as much as I was saying, it may be harder for someone who's in that age to come back because they've had too many knocks in life, right? In terms of confidence. But the flip side is also true that at times it may be easier for them as well, depending. So someone in their 20s who started a business and it failed, right? The bouncing back from that and starting to build another business, right, may be a lot more scary and more painful. I won't say more painful here, but more challenging than someone in their 40s or 50s who've had one or two business bounce off.
Yes.
Do you get what I'm saying? If you've lost two or three business, you're like, I'm gonna pick myself up. Let's go. I've done it a few times. So it's like there are pros. I don't say pros and cons, but there are two. There are two ways two ways of feeling it and viewing it on both of the two. Sophia, I can see you are.
Sophia. Feminine voice.
I can see your mind is ticking.
While I was hearing, I was thinking about maybe I'm going to take this very in my personal life and what happened to me. But I think it was Eric that was mentioning about what we look from the outside. When I was growing up and very much younger, that part was so much important than all the other things. How I looked to others, how I dressed, how I, whatever, the external part of it helped me build confidence. Like how I dressed, it was a way for me to be more confident in some things that I showed up. And now, through all the experience that I got and mostly about the lessons that I learned. And as we know, once we get old, all those things change and change drastically. And I think that confidence comes from within. It's a more solid way of being in the world. And even if we still can put some importance on how we look on the outside, how we look on the inside, it's much more important to our confidence. I'm relating this more to feminine energy. I don't know if I'm being correct on this one, but Jean, you will definitely help me on this, on that. But that's what my thoughts came when I was hearing all of you.
Yeah, I definitely can add to that from a feminine voice. And I'll actually use a very specific situation. Eric, when you first asked about our confidence of what we used to not be able to do and now we can, I was thinking the opposite about me, so me as a woman, I just turned 51 last week. So in my early, 20s, right? Like I'm doing me, right? I have all these ambitions, I'm dating. I married quite young. I was 24, sorry, I was 24. I got married and became a mother at 25. So that part of my feminine, I guess, being attractive and wanting a relationship with the opposite sex, it really went to sleep for a long time, obviously. And then now I'm single again at mid-age, right? And I will tell you that as much as I say, oh, my competence as a woman has been like tenfold, right? I've been working on myself. I've seen myself in multiple different environments and situations and like relationships of all kind. And yet, and I will admit this like to you guys and to whoever else is listening, my confidence to be like, I wouldn't just say attractive. I think that's kind of too shallow, but to be good in like a relationship with the opposite, a romantic relationship, I kind of feel like it may not even be where it was at 20. So I'm a little bit conflicted because this confidence thing doesn't apply in this in this moment for me in the dating scene.
Doesn't?
Interesting.
It does not. No. Yeah.
That's interesting. I would say that, so, just so that I understand correctly, right, Jean, that you feel a lack of confidence within that specific area.
I feel a lack of competence and confidence in being like in a romantic relationship, even though I feel competent and confident in myself, right? So maybe that was more lacking in my 20s in myself, but relationally, I was like all in and like, who wants me,
Got it.
And now I'm like, do you want me? Like,
Isn't that because you have this is where I feel that courage trumps confidence, in the sense that back then you felt as if you like had it all figured out, right? And you had this feeling that, oh, I have the answer. I know exactly the type of person I want to be with, and I'm happy and gung ho. As similar to what Sophie is talking about, right? We use all of this external validation, and as long as we're getting positive feedback on that, we feel, for want of another term, fulfilled, right? We feel fulfilled when realistically we're not actually being fulfilled. There's a difference between feeling fulfilled and being fulfilled. Versus now, you have a much clearer sense of who you are. So now you're not going to settle for what 20-year-old you used to settle for feeling fulfilled. You're much more centered on being fulfilled. So now your bar used to be down here, and now your bar's raised tenfold, right? Because you know you deserve much more you have so much more clear expectations of what you're worth and who your time is worth, that now I don't think that's a lack of confidence. I think that's actually you raising the bar for everyone else, right? Remember, the bar used to be so low
Yes.
for the external people in your life, right? Like, oh, if you, and I'll be honest, same for me. You give me some attention and some affection, and yeah, man, we can be friends. You know what I mean? Right? Versus now,
Right.
I'll be honest, man, I was a bit of a love, giver everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
later,
Yeah.
but but now, do you know what I mean? Like it's completely changed. Your standards have completely changed. So, you're just like that feeling of indifference I feel
Yes.
inside of you of, potential romantic partners and what you're going to accept is actually probably, I would say your authentic self saying, Gene, like, you sure about this? Do you know what I mean? Are you
Yes.
sure?
Yes.
Um, you know what I mean?
Mm.
I don't know. I don't know. At least that's what it sounds like. Again, I'm just kind of reflecting back
Yo,
what I heard
Eric,
from what you said.
Eric, you should not at all say I do not know. You just dropped
It's true. Drop the bomb.
bombs of wisdom right here. All right. And I
Yeah.
know I've been told not to do this, but here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
I
All
appreciate you
right.
guys.
You may have just
Uh,
saved me from not being in the dating world right now. I'm like on that brink of like, do I continue? Do I not continue? Like, wow. Thank you, Eric.
That was amazing, Eric. Honestly, that
Yeah.
I felt that too.
Mm.
And for all you
Well, I think
viewers
it's
and
clever.
listeners out there, this is
Absolutely.
what coaching does. This is what you get.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sorry, Eric, did I cut you off? You were saying something?
No. Yeah, absolutely right. Like that. I was just going to say exactly what you said. That this is something that everyone goes through. Um, Unfortunately, some people don't get to this point, right? Because again, what I think, like we're talking about again, the courage to raise your standards, to have I
Yeah.
would say, a higher level of confidence, right? A deeper sense of confidence. And within that, it takes, within that, kind of in the middle somewhere. So again, I put like kind of confidence down here, courage, what like way higher up here. But somewhere in the middle is this other C called comfort. And if we're too comfortable, then we're going to stay at the same level of this confidence. You know, like I go back to again, Gene, in your role, right? Or sorry, in your relationships, right? You having that confidence to now go beyond your comfort zone, right? Get out of a relationship that was not fulfilling you, and now into now happier life, right? Everyone kind of goes through this, whether it be a job, whether it be a friend group, whether it be a relationship, like whatever it is. They go through this period where if they're too comfortable, even if they don't feel fulfilled, they stay in their same patterns, right? So, um, you know, like there's a great
Sorry,
quote.
I
You
was
can't
just
do that again. Not two
no,
times in
no,
one. You
no.
can't.
My bad.
But yeah, no, I was just kidding. But basically, there's a really great quote from a guy called Brian Johnson, and it's kind of the question of, do you want to be entertained or do you want to be actualized? And it's that like kind of level of understanding of, look, like, do you want to just feel comfortable or do you want more for your life? Do you know what I mean? But I want to like kind of add on to Gene's question to like, because Sophia kind of mentioned that oftentimes adversity, leads to growth, new standards, right? So as we begin to kind of close, a lot of people listening are going to be going through their trials and tribulations, and they're going to be maybe going through something difficult right now, right? Everyone's kind of going through um, their own issues, their own difficulties, right? So how can we find meaning and fulfillment through this adversity in life? Like, what's the the steps that we need to take in order to find meaning out of, I guess the difficult things that happen.
Can you repeat the question again?
So I'm just saying, basically, we've spoken about the need to obviously build confidence and courage. And oftentimes that comes from adversity, right? It comes from difficult circumstances, difficult situations. So for our listeners who are going through those difficult circumstances, situations, how would you advise them on steps to take to use that adversity to be able to grow and feel fulfilled in the future?
And if you're late, if I not go first,
I would just begin as a coach, and rather than advise our listeners, I have a couple of questions to pose for them to explore. So first of all, my first question would be, when in your life have you felt this similar lack of confidence? Describe some of the emotions and the associations. If you can put yourself back in that moment and describe either out loud or on a piece of paper, what were some of the feelings? What were some of the associations that you experienced during that moment? And then moving forward, as we're trying to reclaim confidence, a follow-up question would be, can you imagine yourself currently or maybe in a future setting? Imagine the environment, the people around you, and what you're doing, how you are feeling in confidence. And can you bring that into your body now? Incomplete.
Yeah, I felt that. Thank you, Jean. Thank you, Jean. Yeah, I'd say for all the listeners out there and those who are watching, it'd be cool to go back and just go over what Jean suggested, those questions. There's definitely something there. I felt it here, even in this podcast. As we round up, do you have anything else to add, Sophia?
I think that Jean said it all.
Just your final thoughts. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Jean said it all. It's more about experiencing in our body, giving some time to ourselves and breathing in, and also getting conscious that in face of adversity, as you were saying, Eric, we survive. So what we are seeing it as a dead end, normally it's not.
I just want to add on my final thoughts on that. Adding on to what the other two ladies have said is also sort of like going back again to something that Sophia said earlier on, is that when you're going through adversity as well, there is a place where you can get your support from your friends and those that are close to you, right? So they are there for you. And at times as well, they may not be, So also consider things like coaches or therapists or that kind of, professions and people out there who are trained to help you, trained to help you see your blind spots, or trained to see, like for coaches, we are trained to help people see limiting beliefs or mindsets that are hindering them from. So like what you said, Sophia, that someone may be seeing it as a dead end, but it could be because of a limiting belief or a certain mindset, so having a coach or someone that can reflect, paraphrase, show you those, help you see those blind spots in those places, that would also something that I would also recommend. And as we are called Life's a Coach podcast, we're also promoting seeing coaches because we see the benefit and how it's good for people's and individuals' lives. And back to you, Eric. Any final words as you take us out?
Incredible insights from everybody. As we kind of come to the end of the podcast, again, just to reiterate, as Sophia said, you've won in that fight. You have a 100% record against all of the challenges that you've met in your life. Just remember that. You're listening to this podcast, right? You've come out of the other side. So continue. Know, as everyone said, feel what you feel. Realize and understand that it's part of that process of healing and developing. Take the information out, right? Reading a book right now from Connor Beaton. Averill knows his work, obviously men's work, and talks about pain, right? The physical and emotional pain that we feel as human beings. And he frames pain as information, right? Information that our body is giving us to tell us, that we are feeling a certain way. So oftentimes we want to fight against that pain. We want to numb that pain. We want to ignore that pain, right? When in actual fact, the best thing that we can do is sit with the pain, realize and understand our pain, because oftentimes our pain is where that healing and that fulfillment will come from. So take time to sit with it, accept it, and then only then will you truly be able to level up as we speak as a person. But fantastic insight, guys, today. Again, today we dove deep into building confidence and really more than not, stepping into your power, right? Into your power as a person. So we hope you enjoyed our chat. If this added value, please share this with a friend that you feel needs to hear this. And remember to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much, Jean, Sophia, Averill. It's been a pleasure as always.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
See you next time.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Life's a Coach, where our conversations aim to empower and support your personal growth. Until next time, remember that personal development is ongoing, so keep exploring, keep learning, and keep living a life that aligns with your true purpose. Take care, and we'll see you on the next episode of Life's a Coach.